XGaming's just announced some cool new updates to their projector lineup. Most interesting to me though is the Mogo 3 Pro, which is XGaming's latest all-in-one portable projector for anyone who loves on-the-go entertainment. We're getting a major redesign here, a decent spec upgrade, as well as a couple interesting new features. Here's everything you need to know about the brand new Mogo 3 Pro. First things first, let's talk about its design. It's a pretty radical change from previous models like the Mogo 2 Pro, which were a single base. It now lifts up, rotates, allowing you to get higher angles or to just point it upwards at your ceiling if you want to cast movies against that. Now, why is that so important? Well, with its predecessor and basically every other projector in this category, you can't adjust its positioning on its own, basically without the use of a tripod or some kind of mount. So for simpler setups, the Mogo 3 Pro makes things a lot easier, as you can now really get some fine-tuned adjustments without any additional hardware, so that's cool. But as you can tell, it can't rotate a full 180 degrees, which means you're still gonna get that awkward isosceles trapezoid shadow from its keystoning when doing those angles up above, just because of that brand new built-in strap, which yes, is great for conveniently carrying this on the go, but at the same time, it has me thinking, why not put this on the other side? As far as I can tell, it's an unnecessary limitation, but maybe most people don't try to project directly upwards. Aside from that, the rest of the Mogo 3 Pro gets a decent trim on its size, as it's a perfectly rounded circle, but overall it is a little bit taller than its predecessor. It's still very portable, and I think its sleeker and more futuristic design is actually a really good change. This weighs about 2.3 pounds, so it's also lightweight enough to just toss in a bag. So whether I'm taking it from room to room or heading over to a friend's place, the projector is quick and easy for those setups. That said, this redesign does come with a few drawbacks, which I'll get to, but first let's talk about its specs. Aside from its redesigned shape and size, it's the brightness boost to 450 ISO lumens claimed, up from 400 lumens with its predecessor, which will put this on a lot of people's short list of portable projectors. It's worth noting though that last year's model in reality got closer to about 310-ish ISO lumens in lab testing, or a little bit less than 80% of what XGaming advertises. So it's gonna be interesting to see what this can really do under those circumstances. In my very non-scientific testing though, I can't really tell much of a difference between the two, but it's still bright enough for rooms like this with moderate light coming in from behind. This is a 1080p projector with a 90% DCI P3 color gamut, giving you sharp visuals with rich colors that pop, even with that ambient light in the room. Sure, it's not 4K, but most projectors this size and this price aren't. So I still think it's decently sharp to about 50 or so inches. You can of course zoom it up a little bit more and it's all right too. For audio, XGaming has also switched things up, going with a dual 5-watt Harman Kardon 360-degree speaker system with Dolby audio support, which XGaming is claiming delivers better low end and better immersion compared to last year's setup, which has a dual 8-watt speaker. Just looking at these two side by side though, it would seem that the Mogo 2 has the better or beefier audio setup. How much of this grill is actually a speaker, I'm not too sure, but what I can say is when listening to these two side by side, even though this is a little bit smaller, I think the 3 Pro offers a better listening experience, especially when you're sitting behind as the speaker wraps around. The Mogo 3 Pro offers a lot of convenient connectivity options to play your content easily from your various devices. It has mini HDMI and a USB Type-A port for quickly connecting to your laptop, your gaming consoles, or other devices. For wireless streaming, it supports DLNA, AirPlay, and of course Chromecast, given that it has Google TV built in. It's super convenient. It also has Bluetooth 5.1 for connecting to wireless speakers or headphones, but sadly, especially when compared to the Mogo 2 Pro, it ditches the headphone jack. Not sure why, but for times when having that legacy port comes in clutch, you're gonna wish you had this one. Now similarly, even though I'm usually only playing content through the built-in apps or AirPlaying it wirelessly, sometimes it's handy to connect to its HDMI. Unlike the previous Mogo 2 Pro, which has a full HDMI port, mini HDMI isn't as easily found, especially when you're in the pinch, you're in the middle of nowhere and you want to connect your laptop directly to this. when you don't have a wireless internet connection. It might be a limitation to its router design, but that's just a guess. Honestly, I think they could have gone with a USB-C DisplayPort instead, because that honestly gets the job done a lot better. It's one thing to keep things small and portable, but these projectors also need to have a decently sized battery built in to keep things running when they're unplugged. Xgimi hasn't announced the battery life of the Mogo 3 Pro just yet, but just like last year's Mogo 2, which was rated for 2.5 hours on a full charge, I'd expect this to be somewhat in a similar range. In reality though, as you can imagine at full brightness with audio playing, Wi-Fi playing, the battery life is gonna be closer to an hour and a half, which still should be good enough for a few episodes of a show or a single movie. But if you're like me and you plan on using this for your next movie marathon, this can be powered by a 65 watt or higher power bank via its USB-C port on the back, just like with the Mogo 2 Pro. That's very handy. It's a simple way to extend your runtime without a bulky setup. For an even sleeker and more extended battery solution, and I haven't had the chance to try this yet, but I did see it at their event, Xgimi is also introducing a really cool accessory for the Mogo 3 Pro. It's 20,000 milliamp power-based stand. Now, it's not just a simple stand, it's actually a fully integrated battery packed into that stand, which can extend your runtime by another 2.5 hours, Xgimi claims. And that's sweet on its own, but the stand is actually designed to match the portability and I think rather sleek design of this projector. When seeing it and picking it up in person, I actually had no idea at first that it actually packed a battery inside. That's just how light it was. The stand is 16.1 inches and can extend by another 10.32 inches, giving you that flexibility for different setups while only weighing 1.7 pounds. But of course, just like with the Mogo 2 Pro, you can attach this to basically any 1/4 inch threaded mount, but that power-based stand is a great $129 add-on if you plan on being unplugged for most of the time when using this. As far as other accessories go, there's the carrying case for $69, which is a bit steep. It looks nice in person and they have this really cool green color, which I love. It has one little divider for holding the smallest wires, but aside from that, it's pretty bare bones. Interestingly, aside from protecting the projector from bumps and scratches, it's also waterproof, but I'll be honest, I'm not gonna be the one to test that out. Finally, there's this creative filter for $49, which I'm interested in testing a little bit more. Basically, this is a fisheye lens that softens the edges of your frame to give it a little bit more flair to your various projections. It attaches to the front of the lens and can alter that light output to create different visual effects. So that's the attachment. And you can see just how much wider and softer it makes the image. Love seeing my face that big. Your main image is still basically the same, it's just those edges stretching out a little bit. You can play any content, YouTube, movies, whatever, but honestly it is a pretty niche accessory and it's not for everyone, but for under $50, it might be worth it to pick up and try out. Just like Xgimi's other projectors, the Mogo 3 Pro has a couple of built-in smart sensors. Intelligent Screen Adaptation Technology 2.0 basically does all the annoying setup work for you. It will automatically adjust the keystone, correction, and focus. So no matter where I'm placing this, I'm basically getting a perfectly aligned and sharp image within a few seconds. And then there's Xgimi's Intelligent Obstacle Avoidance and Screen Alignment. This avoids any furniture or objects that might get in the way of your projection, whether that's paintings on the wall, light switches, things like that. And it can also detect projector screens to give you the biggest picture within that frame on your wall. Just set it down and it usually takes care of the rest on the first try. It also has eye protection features built in that dims the projector if anyone or like pets walk in front of it, keeping their eyes safe. That's cool to have. The Mogo 3 Pro finally comes with Google TV instead of Android TV 11, which we've seen with previous models. Aside from the more modern look, which feels comparable to smart TVs like my Hisense, it also comes with Netflix built in natively. You previously, with devices like this, had to install an app which then installed Netflix. It was by no means difficult, but it's great to see Xgimi finally offering it natively on the device. The Google TV interface is super snappy and easy to navigate, and if you're familiar with it on other devices, it's gonna be the same here. It has all the access to your favorite streaming apps. With its new color mode, which is this interesting thing that when this is face down and still open, you can activate different color effects. For music, it's cool that it has it. I guess they're intending this to be like a portable speaker, you know, so you can kind of get some cool funky colors as you're playing. I don't really see this being a popular feature. What it's actually doing is projecting the color from the projector and bouncing it off the top of its lower half. It's smart, but maybe a better implementation would have been to actually have a thin RGB light strip here instead. That way it can change its lights while playing a video depending on what's happening on screen, kind of like Philips Hue and Govee lights do. I think that would have been cool. Now let's talk about price. The Mogo 3 Pro comes in at $449, which is actually $50 cheaper than the Mogo 2 Pro when it first launched. I think that's pretty impressive, especially considering all the upgrades to brightness, allegedly, audio, and Google TV. And as a bonus, you have this decently well built-in stand that's pretty handy. You'll still probably want a dedicated stand for most setups, especially if you don't have a desk or, you know, books to place this on, but it's still cool to have. When compared to what I think is going to be one of its closest competitors, the Samsung Freestyle 2nd Gen, which came out last year, the Mogo 3 Pro has a couple of spec bumps which I think could give it the edge. On paper, the Mogo 3 Pro is significantly brighter with 450 ISO lumens compared to the Freestyle's 240 ISO, which theoretically would make it the better choice for brighter rooms with more ambient light. But like I was saying earlier, the Mogo 2 Pro was only about 80% of that claimed brightness. Still relatively impressive, and even with that same assumption in mind, the Go 3 Pro would still offer about 360 lumens, so it'd still be brighter. Maybe more apples to apples though, the Mogo 3 Pro has a second 5-watt speaker compared to the Freestyle's 1, which should give it that fuller sound. It also runs Google TV instead of Samsung TV, which I find to be much faster and more intuitive to use. Pricing probably is the biggest factor though when deciding between the two, and the Mogo 3 Pro is priced again at $449, which is almost half the price of the 2nd Gen Freestyle, which is $799. Making it way more affordable without sacrificing on performance. The only thing, and I hope XGaming can maybe offer this later, is a socket adapter or something similar for quick and easy ceiling mount solutions. So that's been my quick experience with the Mogo 3 Pro, XGaming's latest portable powerhouse projector that's ready to bring the movie, or as they want, light show party wherever you go. My gut is saying this is going to be one of the most important portable projectors to come out this year. And kind of like what happened with the Mogo 2 Pro and how influential its design change was at the time, influencing the design of a lot of other projectors, it'll be interesting to see how many other brands follow suit with a similar look to the Go 3 Pro. The Go 3 Pro is available to order now at xgaming.com. Subscribe for our full review to learn more about it, and you can also follow me to see what cool tech I'm working on next. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.